the meeting to order. Welcome to our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of September 15th. First order of business, is there any citizen input on any item that's not already on the agenda? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we'll go to the next item, draft minutes for May 19th. Is there any changes to be made? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Gao, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, then we have the Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Committee Chair report. That would be John Freeborn.
I'm not the chair.
No, I know you're filling in for Greg.
The chair is in Costa Rica.
The minutes yet?
Yes.
Oh, no, the minutes were wrong. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then we
sorry.
have a
What went
procedure
wrong with
question.
them?
Okay, so I made a long note.
Well, first I'll withdraw my
There's
motion.
a correction.
Well, let's hear what it is first.
Oh,
Okay, here's the correction. It should read, the previous owner, not somebody's daughter, came to HPAC and spoke on the deterioration of the house with her engineer reports. She wanted to sell it, but agreed to keep the rocks and incorporate them into the structure. And the seller agreed, and this is what is happening. She worked with HPAC to keep the rock remnants of the structure incorporated, and that's my understanding that what happens over there, they will incorporate some of the rocks.
So the subject was, it was the Shell House right over here across on
Shell,
Grand Street.
right.
That Mr. Shivas, yes,
Yes.
yes. And so,
Yes.
right, and so the
Yes.
minutes referred to the owner's daughter had gone to,
Yeah,
instead of.
hello, I don't even know
Right.
who that is.
So-
But it was the owner, and I just wanted to show that HPAC really does work with people, and it turned out to be a really good deal, and it's my understanding that this is going forward with some incorporation of the rocks into the new steakhouse.
That's
Can
true.
you give those notes to Michelle, so, because she was fervently trying to write down whatever you were trying to say, and... Okay, now, you will withdraw your motion,
I withdraw my motion and
and you concur?
Or
I'm not
amend
gonna- I'm
my-
not going to withdraw. No?
Stop it.
Yes, ma'am, I'll withdraw.
I amend my motion for what she said.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, John, you're up.
All right, we've had, since the last CR meeting, the CRA Advisory Committee has met twice, once on August 3rd and once on September 7th. So we have two meetings to report on. One of the overarching themes has been the topic of street closures. It's a new topic that has come up. The first meeting in August, Jory was there and had basically advised us of the street closures over the next year. And there was some discussion that we would like to form a subcommittee, which they were trying to put under the downtown task force, which they really have no authority over. But they were looking into the fact that the Arts and Crafts Festival has four sessions, and they would like to cut that down to 3, spread them out a little better, and maybe encourage one of them to go to another district, to spread it out away from the downtown areas. But we also discussed the revised plan for the Douglas Avenue Crosswalk, which was downsized, I think, from 2 crosswalks to 1. And a motion was made and carried that we support the revised plans for the slimmed-down crosswalk. And Bob advised us of some of the things that were going on. Anyway, carrying over to the new meeting, in September, road closures were once again a topic of conversation. Obviously, the only ones that the CRA has full control over are the arts and crafts festivals, but the subject of private business road closures seemed to hit quite a chord. So there was a motion, I believe, to where did I lose that? to basically, a motion was made to review the road closures for special events and the negative impact that they may have on the CRA and the businesses downtown. There was a further motion made to review whether an individual private business in the CRA should continue to have multiple special events each year. So there was a motion to send an email, and I brought it up at that downtown task force to include road closures in the discussion for downtown task force. And I think that's it. We had a couple of ex officio members, Pam Pravitz from the Chamber report on some events, and Jackie Nigro from the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee updated us on the City Hall art piece, the water tower, and public art in general. That's all I got.
Okay, Jennifer, Bob, do you want to talk about the road closure thing and what your next steps are?
Yeah, certainly. With the arts and crafts, we're going to go out with an RFP to reduce it from 4 to 3. We have looked and with the promoter at some other areas too. It hasn't been received as far as Patricia or Causeway, although we did look at them. They are looking at some other sites now. So that's the RFP. We'll go from 4 to 3. As far as the road closures, they kind of formed their own little committee, and they were looking to document it. That's why I have Vince and Jory here to hear also relative to the events. So, and as you mentioned, as John mentioned, it was brought up to the downtown task force too.
I think the concern was not necessarily the public events, Wines of Blues, Mardi Gras, things like that, old-fashioned Christmas, but they were particularly aimed at private businesses, which I guess would be your Cinco de Mayo, your St. Patrick's Day type thing, which puts a burden on for access to some of the other members in a benefit to a particular member or a particular business.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
May I think that this is definitely something that the Downtown Task Force is going to talk about.
Okay.
And it was voiced by several of those who were there. And I think that we need to make a really comprehensive approach to this in terms of
Right.
talk to some of those folks who are the private events, if you will, about their event and that type of a thing. So this is going to be a process. I think that the CRA raised the flag on this. Task Force is talking about it as well. The Chamber's talking about it. So there's going to be additional discussion on this. There's certainly, before we bring anything to you as far as a recommendation goes, there needs to be a lot more research involved here.
And I think the first meeting of the task force, which happened on Monday, was basically to break the ice, lay ground rules, and to look at the big picture. So, they didn't get down into the weeds on that.
Yes, ma'am.
I had this idea, and, what if, we really want to get people to the Artisan? Is there space enough to have that art show behind the Artisan, in the Artisan Incubator?
No, not that show. Not the one we're going to RFP for, no.
Okay, if that doesn't work, then I have another idea, and that's by Romantique. She has that big property right by her, and that might work on Patricia.
It's on Douglas.
I meant on Douglas. Yes, I'm confused. Douglas.
Well, I think that we can certainly, when we put out the RFP, talk about alternative locations for it. And we've discussed a few as well.
Correct.
It's an opportunity, really, to
It
spread it
really
around a little
is.
bit. I like that idea.
Tricia would be nice.
Yeah, we tried that
Patricia would
one.
really be nice, and that's what I was thinking. What about that property over that you keep trying to sell over by the economic development property?
I think that as far as the locations go, Vice Mayor, we can, as we start to narrow down the events, and certainly as we go through the RFP, we can look at those and present them to all of you.
Okay. I'm just full of ideas, but we do
Yes.
want to get people to the Artisan Incubator, and so I didn't know if it was big enough, but that would really,
She is. I said, yes, you are, full of ideas. That's a good thing.
Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. All right, there is a vacancy on the advisory committee, and the recommendation is for Alan McHale to be appointed as alternate member. Are there any other suggestions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Gowan, Commissioner Twanga, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Les and Bob, budget.
Yep.
Nikki, do you want to read the Resolution 2203 by title only?
Yes, Mayor. Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA Resolution 2203, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, as the governing body of the City of Dunedin Community Redevelopment Agency, adopting the operating and capital budgets for the City of Dunedin Community Redevelopment Agency for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of CRA Resolution 2203 by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes. Thank you. Les?
Yes, certainly. Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director. I have Les Tyler here, Finance Director. Obviously, we do this once a year. This is our budget. You've seen this a couple times with overall presentations by Les with the rest of the city operations. This first slide shows you revenue coming in. Also shows you some ending fund balance. The next slide that we have shows some of the capital projects that were looked at. Obviously, in 2023, we're trying to carry over some of the things that did not get complete as far as capital in 2022. So you see a rather light budget there. We all have the streetscape there in front of Costantina's and Gregory's GW Salon. But all in all, the CRA is healthy. It's in good shape, and we're looking forward to carrying with the capital projects. And having Les here, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And you know, we also did that long-range fund balance with you too, maybe 2 months ago, if I remember right.
Questions for Bob?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. I don't have any specific question about how the budget was put together. But this is reflective of the rate of 4.1345. Is that not correct?
That is correct. Yep.
So when we come to vote on this, which I assume a vote is going to occur, then we're voting for that millage rate.
That's correct. Yeah, the budget before you includes the 4.135 millage rate for fiscal year '23.
Thank you. And I can make that real smooth just by a couple comments later when we go to vote.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to this item, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none, I'll come back to Commissioner Franny. Maker of the
Oh, I
motion.
made the motion. Okay, sorry. No, I mean, I think we've discussed this a lot. We have a lot of demands. It's tight on our downtown, our Community Redevelopment Agency. We know we're facing the sunset in 2033, maybe sooner. Again, I think, obviously, if we would actually roll back in any way, we're also going to be hurting ourselves doubly when we know we're already going to be hit in, 2025 with less money from the county. And we'd be equalizing that. So I think we have a lot that we need to do. We've talked at length about all the things that need to happen. Our whole city is important, but our jewel is our downtown. There's a lot of maintenance issues within this budget, a lot of parking issues, a lot of things we have to do. So I think we have to stay the course. I'm in favor of this budget. I think it's been well thought through, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Kynes?
Yes, I'm in favor of this budget. I think we have spoken to it a lot, and we do have needs down there. And I know there's a push and pull oftentimes between the downtown, and sometimes people feel, well, if we're not the downtown, but it gives us our living, breathing heart. And it is important. It's a place that we can gather and congregate and feel like a community. So I'm in favor of this budget.
Commissioner?
I'm in favor of this budget as well. There's some stuff that we need to get done. The 2033 is getting big in the window, and so we need to continue with what we're doing. Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you. So I want to make a very quick comment. I'll keep it short, and it really relates to the larger budget, but obviously the rate is in this and is affected by this. So I don't disagree with anything that was said relating to that we have things that need to be done. We probably have more things that need to be done than what are in this budget. There's always places to spend money and to make it even better. I had represented a rollback previously, and that was simply to provide some support to all of the residents that have been affected as well. So in our general budget, or our main budget for the city, exclusive of the CRA, I've made a number of comments about that. And the only thing that I think that we can or should have done, and I was representing that, was to have a rollback that might represent up to 10% of the amount of money that we received from the federal government for the American Rescue Plan. So because of that, and how I feel about that, I wish that had come up first, but it didn't, and I knew that. I'm going to go ahead and vote against this budget. It's really just against the revenue that's coming into this budget in relationship to the support of the individuals that are going to be involved in paying for this, not the spending of it. So I'm going to be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you. So, kind of like you said, Bob, with this budget, it's a much more slimmed down budget as far as the number of projects. If you look at 2022, you've got 14 line items on the capital page. And if you look at 2023, you've got 7. So I think we've considerably, worked hard on trying to stretch things out. In addition, we're getting ready to talk about a couple of items. One, we can't do it all, and one is we can only do it partially. And in both cases, the discussion is that it's cost prohibitive. So I think we're doing everything we can to reduce our spending without hurting the ultimate goal of what we need to do in the city. So I appreciate that from everybody. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Commissioner Tornga?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes?
Aye.
Commissioner Franny?
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski?
Aye, and that motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
All right, then we have the Community Redevelopment Agency Director's Report. Thank you,
Yeah.
Les.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, several items I wanted to give an update relative to some capital projects. One that's up there on the screen is the Douglas Crosswalk. As you recall, we've been obviously had quite a bit of conversation and meetings over a period of time with that. We did go out for a bid for 2 crosswalks, per the CRA direction. One was on the north side, closer to where the Dunedin Brewery is, and then was one that was a little bit south where our parking garage is. The bids came in very high, $275,000 up to about $350,000. We didn't have those type of funds available to us, so we tried to do a value engineering on this. And what we looked at is we had the existing crosswalk there that you see there on the right corner. And what we could do there is put in the LED lights, put in the pedestrian crossing, and really make this a real pilot project and very novel. And we can do that a little bit with some in-house capability from our streets department. And we can do that at a fairly low budget of 75 to 80 grand, and that's what staff's recommending at this point in time. And I do have our traffic consultant, Jerry Dipkowski, in the audience too, if there's any more detailed questions that I cannot answer. But that's what we're looking to go forward with, is that enhanced
Any
crosswalk.
questions for Bob on the crosswalk?
I have none.
Go ahead. Did you say you had?
I had none.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we are doing our LED lighting, and then that's going to be our real big pilot project to see how well this new technology type of lighting is really going to work.
Yes.
Thank you. That was a real question.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor? If I may.
Sure.
Bob, we've gone from raised crosswalks down to surface level sidewalks or crosswalks, 2, and now we're down to 1. And so I'm looking at the one we want to do is the one that's closer to the Artisan and Dunedin Brewery, is that?
Correct.
And I'm just in the picture that's shown, it appears that the crosswalk is more narrow than the approach to the Artisan. And I'm wondering what that difference is and if there's a way to widen that crosswalk.
Let me ask Jerry Dubkowski, traffic consultant with ICE, to come on up. It's obviously got a street print texture there, so I'm not sure, Jerry.
Good afternoon, Jerry Dubkowski with the Infrastructure Consultant. You are correct that the existing sidewalk is narrower, the existing crosswalk is narrower than the actual sidewalk coming out of the building by about 2 feet.
Oh, okay, that sidewalk in the front of the Artisan is very wide, yeah. Yeah, that's a very wide sidewalk there by the Artisan itself.
And is there a reason why that crosswalk can't be widened to match the width of the sidewalk?
Well, I don't know, standard-wise, I mean, typically this would be a pretty typical crosswalk. I mean, certainly, I guess I don't know.
And I brought this up just because of the crosswalks that we have on Edgewater, that I know that when you go from the sidewalks on Edgewater to you turn left into the street, the ramp onto the crosswalk is a really narrow, sharp-angled 90-degree, and so if you're on a bicycle, if you're walking, it's kind of narrow, and so I think a broader, because at one time we were talking about, when we were talking about the raised crosswalks, the raised crosswalk was almost the length of the car, so it wasn't a big up and down for the car. It was a lot more subtle for the cars passing by. And so I think the width of that also pays a little more homage to our desire to be a walkable city, to be more pedestrian friendly. And then all of a sudden, this narrow crosswalk. I don't know what standards are. I don't know.
It meets the standard today. It just doesn't meet the width of the sidewalk.
Yeah, that sidewalk is wide. I mean, we'd have to go back to redesign, take a look at that, if that's.
Well, this is an existing sidewalk, right?
Yeah, existing crosswalk, yes, it is.
So what you'd have to do, just to be clear on what you're saying, Jeff, you're going to use this existing sidewalk and just add lights. That's what you're doing?
They're going to add.
Are you using this existing sidewalk and then
Yes.
adding lights? So
Yeah.
you're not redoing this
No,
sidewalk?
to keep the cost down.
It's
And
crosswalk.
I just asked Jerry, one of the things we always work with in the downtown is how many people abreast can walk, and he just said 3, which is pretty good. So 3 people can walk on this, so
So what I'm saying to you is, I would agree with you if they were redoing the crosswalk, but they're not. They're just putting the lights.
I agree. I just wish we maybe would have thought about that earlier, but down the road, we can.
Can I tag on? I think what he did in front of the Artisan is more of a boulevarding, and he meant to do that very wide boulevarding sidewalk. That's not necessarily what you would have in a crosswalk. Is that, Jerry?
Correct.
correct.
Thank you.
Well, I do think they should match. I agree with you, but given that we're trying to save money, I don't think we want to go and.
I agree.
Anybody else? Questions?
No questions?
I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
I'm so sorry.
That was kind of a wimpy sneeze, though.
I expected better.
Okay,
She's the mayor, come
That was
on.
not impressive.
Yeah.
this is, anybody wish to come forward and speak to this item? Seeing or hearing none, is there a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Twanga. All right, anything final?
Yeah, I have a statement.
Sure.
I think this is a really great example. I'm going to go back, I'm going to refer a little bit to our budget discussion. It's a great example of the fact that we are being responsible with our money. We are having to make sacrifices with the money we already have. And in order to make sure that we don't have to over-sacrifice to the point this is a safety issue. And it's not what we want, it's our second choice because of dollars, because we have to be responsible for taxpayers' dollars. But we need to do this, and we're reducing the costs, I think, a couple $100,000. And this is what we're going to have to do with everything. And I think, again, it's important that we fund these things for the future so that we don't hurt ourselves and put ourselves in a position where safety issues get ignored, they don't get done. It's very important to keep our funding source, and I think this is a fantastic example of responsibly having to readjust ourselves, But at the same time, looking out to the long term, we need to have the funding source to be able to do the basic things that we need to do in our downtown. So I'm fully in favor of this. I'm fully in favor of staff looking at it, being responsible about the money we do have and the changes and the modifications we have to make to stay within our budget. But thank you.
Commissioner Torga, anything?
Thank you, yes. No, I appreciate that very much, and I wanted to make that point about the safety side of it, because I always talk about safety and security. And when I always looked at this, that's how I always looked at it, and we got into often many conversations about making it and and that was great, but it just became too expensive. So we're back to providing the functional safety and security and testing it and see how that goes. If I thought it would be risking anybody, I would have brought that up, but I don't believe so. And it seems to me like, and especially with Jerry taking a look at it and understanding this very, very well, it seems to fit the requirements for getting people across that street. Not that they can't get across it today, but from a more safety standpoint. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything?
Yes. If this pilot works, and we have seen the embedded lights before, but they didn't always have the best technology. Now they've gone into different and better forms of technology. If this works, see, this is a real question.
It doesn't have to be a question, it's comments. It's on the comments.
Oh, shoot.
Hey,
I have worn myself out.
No questions, just comments. No, just kidding.
If this works, then I would really like to see us convey the newer technology to, say, Edgewater Drive. I mean, some of the places, we all know that Douglas is, I've seen people, they just zoom down Douglas. It's a cut through. And so we know that that's going to be a great spot for this first pilot. But I would really like to see, if it works out, that we can take that pilot and do some other places that really could also use this technology.
I concur with everybody else.
Me too. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like. And, I am, did we ever put those 15-mile-an-hour flashing things on Douglas?
They were up there for a while.
For a while?
Yeah, they were up there for a while.
Because that was, the biggest reason we were looking at these things was to slow down traffic.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say for you all to discuss, I think it might be worthwhile to have a permanent flashing 15, given that we're not doing the humps, given that we're not doing both crosswalks, from the safety perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Jorge's got one stuck in a closet somewhere.
Because it is desk drawer.
Yeah, there you go. I just put that out for your all's consideration. I mean, I know we don't want to clutter the road up, and we're trying to make it pretty and everything, but if safety really is the issue, then I think that might be something for you all to consider. Okay,
I think that could be good.
all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I did want to say, though, before we start doing that, we can make sure how this works first and see if it has a good impact.
Certainly, absolutely. One of the nice things about this, it's already existing. So it's
Yeah,
not going to be
right.
new to a pedestrian or a motorist, so it's going to be enhanced. So we'll watch this closely and see what it does.
That's a really good point. They do know it's there.
They know it's there, but now it's going to stand out a little bit more. And, of course, it's getting darker earlier, and so I think this is going to be a great thing. So I'd like to get it done, so that we have it for the winter.
Okay, so the Skinner issue.
Yes, please, sure. I just want to give an update on Skinner. I was kind of asked at the last meeting. Design cost was $1.3 million. DOT is a little bit fell behind schedule with their consultant, about 3 months behind. But I have seen them out there doing the survey work. I've seen the transits and things out there. It does appear that design cost might be less than the 1.3. So there was multiple parties that were contributing to the design cost. So there might be an opportunity for us to get a little bit of money back. So stay tuned on that one. We're in touch with them. If you remember, DOT was putting in $700,000 and the city was putting in $600,000. So if there's some type of reduction there, maybe we'll get a little bit of share back. The project was awarded to T.Y. Lin. They're out of Tampa. They've started work on it. The construction budget is $6.5 million. As I mentioned, they're about three months behind schedule. We did go ahead and look at the underground utility aspect. We went ahead and contacted Duke. You can see the cost from Duke is $1.95 million. That does not include Knology, Verizon, Spectrum, and some of the others. So obviously the cost is very expensive, and as staff, you see the term there, kind of cost prohibitive. But we wanted to give you an update on that. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on Skinner.
So just as an FYI to everybody, Wood spoke with FDOT too regarding this, because I asked, why is it running behind? He said they're telling him they're on time. So
Oh, okay.
just telling you what,
Well,
I get it.
I
I am not,
apologize.
no, I believe you.
oh, okay.
I'm just telling you what they're telling Whit.
I got you.
Because I asked him to follow up on it as well. So maybe there's some pressure there since, who knows, maybe,
Great.
I'm just telling you.
Great. I have seen him out there surveying.
Yeah.
That made me feel pretty good. That's always step one, is surveying underground utilities, so.
I saw him surveying too.
Okay, super.
So Mo, what the heck? You are the guru of Duke Energy.
What are you doing?
What, go fix this.
Yeah, not a magician, right? We do
Hey.
actually have an upcoming meeting with them on September 28th.
On a franchise agreement, right?
Yes, and so, you know,
Well,
this will be a discussion.
Just
but
saying.
We'll be discussing it.
We'll be discussing it. Yeah, I mean, trust me, I just hate that. You're doing this whole new, you know,
I know, and
complete
then have
streets
holes.
design
Yeah.
and again, you know, I've said this before, like, you know, when I, you know, had to do some remodeling at my house, I spent the money, like $1,000 for the house. So we're not talking the same zone, but oh my God, all the time I look back there, I'm like so happy I did it. You know, and you have your moment, right?
Yeah.
So to look at a price tag like that, and I don't get that price. So yeah, I mean, I get it. It'll be a discussion that we'll have.
Good.
Please, because I do think it is terrible to spend all that money
Right.
to do what we're gonna do there. And not be able to take it the whole distance.
And it clearly has benefits to them as well.
I mean, and it's the edge of our CRA. You know?
Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
my only thing that I was thinking about this, and I didn't bring this up when I was speaking in my review, but I agree with you, that just sounded like just such a steep number for that small area. And I know there's a lady who's involved in this with Duke that's supposed to be in charge of figuring out how they're doing undergrounding of everything, but boy, if you figure out what that would cost, just to underground that, my gosh, we'll never get anything undergrounded.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little,
So it's the whole concept, wow.
Yeah, I don't want us to lose sight,
Yeah.
especially this.
Yeah.
I really don't, because, I mean,
Me neither.
it is the edge of our CRA, and it's probably I mean, we certainly aren't gonna do it after the fact, that would be silly
No,
and
tear it all up
inefficient.
again.
And I mean, when
Exactly.
else would we do it, given,
Right, you have
you
a
know,
moment, a window.
the length of the CRA, so it just, I'm not saying that's what we should spend on it, but I'm just looking at you all when you talk to Duke,
Yeah.
and, you know, I think we gotta take another stab at this.
I was a little surprised. It's not on both sides the whole way either. It's not like
Right,
a
it's
tunnel.
not. I went down there
Exactly.
the
Not
other
a
day,
tunnel
and
effect.
Exactly.
It's kind of a little bit,
I think
if I need anything, please let me know. I'll get you any information you might need.
Maybe they put the number incorrect, maybe they inverted a few numbers in there, maybe they put the 1 in front that shouldn't have been there.
I think they put
Yeah,
too
it
many
was
zeros.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it's just 950,000.
yeah, but that's a good, another way
I
to
mean, I
approach
really
it,
do
too many
believe
zeros.
that if we were ever gonna do it, and that's the edge of our, I mean, this is, because what's gonna happen with that road is redevelopment's gonna happen along that road, as you know. And what's gonna attract redevelopment but undergrounding all those utilities? I mean, that's kind of part and parcel of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else, Robert?
No, that's it. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might
Any
have.
other questions or updates that anybody would like to have?
One question I had was, so when it is redeveloped along Skinner, like what, depending on the redevelopment, are we able to require the undergrounding as redevelopers redevelop along Skinner?
We would have to amend the land development code.
Yeah, we tried to do that with the guy that's on the corner of Highland and Skinner.
We
and-
did.
Island Crossing, yeah, yes.
We, as you know, we undergrounded around City Hall in
Yeah.
those areas that
Right,
we could.
no, I
And
know
some of
that.
them were on private property, and one property in particular did not consent. So there are easements, there are all sorts of things that need to go on. But I know that some cities have incorporated that in their land development code, but it's not without controversy.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know it would be. Yeah, I'm not even saying it makes sense to do that. I just was asking if,
You would, need- as Jennifer mentioned, you need numerous easements for switching gear and stuff like that, and transformers and stuff like that, so, yeah, it does get involved.
I'm trying to do that. I'm looking into this for our community, and I can't even get an answer.
No?
yeah.
Anybody
It took
else?
us a while to get the estimate, I will tell you
I have all
that.
these questions. I finally got
No,
my-
you don't.
Yes, I
No, you don't.
do. Yes, I do. It's very quick. Okay, first of all, I want to go over the possible TIF reduction in 2025.
Yeah.
It is now 5644, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it's maybe proposed it would go to 50/50.
I think that's just about a pretty certain on that one.
And that's 2025.
That's the county wanting to do proportional share for all CRAs within the county. So I think that's pretty much done, unless
Okay.
Jennifer has a different thought, but.
Well, we did, I mean, we challenged that quite a bit, and the answer was, we're doing it for all CRAs, and we're not going to make an exception.
Yeah.
And I read that in the minutes. Another thing I had read in the minutes, and it was a really interesting, see, I should never read all my minutes, but it was a really interesting discussion because we did talk about the Ocean Optics parking lot. And I think, Jennifer, you said, well, maybe, you could talk to us or something and see if there's any other at some time. But I know it's privately owned now.
Yes.
I don't know that that person would have any interest. And my last thing is, because City Hall is in the CRA, and I had a very interesting comment from Eric, Dunedin Goes Karting, Eric Peterson. And he said, Deborah, what you're thinking about for your old City Hall, he said, keep the bricks as a floor, so you're retaining some of the architectural importance, and do a pergola, an open pergola, so you could still have, some of that architectural, but sure, it would not be this size, I know, but, then another place for musicians or whatever, and keeping part of and then you could still have art in public places. But thank you, Eric. I thought that was really smart, and so I'm bringing it forward.
Okay. Anybody else?
So the Larry White gazebo,
Laurie,
Larry, thank you, Larry White.
we're not programming it right now. And
Yeah.
we should be.
I think we should. I keep going by there, and of course, I think it's becoming,
It's becoming a place for people to sleep
yeah. But I just think
every night.
it would be
every
worth,
time.
it would be
And
worth.
we're not doing anything about it.
Right, I think we should, and I mentioned it to Bob, that I think it would be kind of cool to program it a little bit. I mean, I think we could get some nice, acoustic guitar type entertainers, for, not a lot of money.
Saxophone,
Whatever,
anyway.
not a lot of money, and just kind of see how it goes and see what kind of attraction it gets, and,
Yeah, and I thought that was under the aegis of the History Museum, that they were going to sort of run the, that's what I think is in the agreement.
Yeah, I think they might have been working with parks, I think maybe with parks relative to that.
I think it was.
Well, Jennifer, I'm going to look to you because, I mean, everybody claims it's not me, it's somebody else. And so, and I'm not saying that in any disrespectful way, please don't, but you're not the only one, I mean, other people say the same thing. So, I mean, when we did this, that was the idea with her being a musician and starting from nothing here and moving her way up. The idea was that there would be
Used.
programming there
Musician.
for
well,
musicians.
and we just, I think, plant the seeds, right? I mean, it may
Right.
take off after that, just in and of itself, but I just think we need to plant the seeds and kind of get a vibe going there, right?
Yeah, and it's there, it's
Right,
beautiful.
right next to the boxcar, I mean, it's kind of,
Yeah, it's centrally
it's very
located.
well done, I mean, the gazebo itself.
Pretty structure, yeah. We put new signage recently up there, it looks pretty good.
I know, it's
Yeah, I
gorgeous,
liked it,
thank
you did a great job.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
anybody,
looking to.
anything else? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Trevor, very good to see you, bud.
Thank you.
Been a while.
Thank you, appreciate it.
It's good to see you too, Jeannie, but we'd like to see you.
Yeah, no,